do 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 do. Howdy, howdy. Hello, 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 hello. I want to let a fair number of people get on here before I start, and I'm going to try and see. Uh, Greetings from Las Vegas. Howdy, howdy, hello. I can't make out all these names, but I wish I could. Give me a thumb. That's twice it's told me it was reconnecting. I don't know what in the world's going on. uh, all right. So let's start off the conversation. Uh, what do what do you all think about the BAO situation over in Tarrant County, also called Tarrant County, Texas, Fort Worth? And does everybody know the current situation with BAO and him being, yeah, it sucks, and being a political prisoner? I've had some emails this week, and they actually asked me to please. We're going. Yeah, he ain't getting a fair trial. It's terrible. I wish he had a good lawyer to help him. Yes. Uh, Judges take revenge on citizens. Yes. It sucks. Yes. I'm trying to read comments when I can, as good as I can. I should have got my glasses. I always seem to forget to get my glasses and read this stuff. Hmm. You live a little, you learn a little. Hi from Utah. Hey, Utah. Uh, don't think it was right for the jurors to find him guilty. Yeah, I can't never fear matches here. That's right. You know, one thing in law, my entire career has been taught: you must have probable cause to make an arrest. You can have articulable reasonable suspicion for a detainment for investigatory purposes. The person doesn't have to tell you anything. But say if a store was robbed or somebody was raped or yay, uh, something happened to them, and this man or woman fit the general description, maybe not specifically, but general, and you have to have a mechanism that your articulable reasonable suspicion is you fit the general description out on the radio or told to me of the man or woman who has committed a crime. And I'm investigating to see if it's you or that I got probable cause to believe it is. Okay, that's articulable reasonable suspicion. Okay, if you have let's just say a junkyard. One time, one place I worked, they had a junkyard. This junkyard had been vandalized and car parts stolen between about midnight and 4 in the morning on a regular basis. Okay, so one particular night, I got called down there. Hey, Rod, uh, I got called down there about some people that were in close proximity. They were not on the junkyard, wrecking yard, whatever you want to call it, but they was in close proximity, and the alarm had been set off. So because they was in close proximity, it was the time of night that these had been happening, and there were no homes and no cars for long distances, like 800 or 1,000 foot. There was no car or a house anywhere around there. So they were on foot. So it just made them suspicious. So I had articulable, reasonable suspicion to detain them for a short period of time. So the man that owned the junkyard was called, and he come down there. And because it took him a little bit to get there, and he has cameras that could capture the images of people, then it was reasonable to keep them longer than a very short period of time. And I explained this to them. So they says, okay, well, the man got there. Well, it took a picture, and it was a picture of one of those three people that I had. Okay, so it was verified an identity of one of them, but it didn't get all three. So, but that gave me probable cause since they were all found together based on the isolation, based on the time of day, based on the previous incidents and thefts that had occurred. And I had asked them before, do y'all know each other? Y'all traveling together? Did y'all just meet? And they're like, oh yeah, we're all good friends. So if they're all good friends and they was there, I had probable cause to make the arrest for the thefts that we found. So that's articulable reasonable suspicion, and it rose to the level of probable cause, and therefore there was arrest. But see, um, I like to use this analogy. If I live next door to you and I go out and I rob the convenience store and I go home, but you and me talk out in the front yard and you make comments all the time about burglaries or thefts or whatever, yada yada yada, you do something. Okay? So here I am, I done this. Well, the police pass me up and they go to your house and arrest you. That's about what happened to BAO. Okay? He didn't commit crimes, other people committed crimes, and he's being tried for other people's crimes. And he's being persecuted and prosecuted for his daring to question a judge. Hey, Chief, how y'all doing? Good, good. Hope you guys good for y'all too. Howdy from Georgia. Hey, Georgia. So basically, um, you can't, uh, you cannot come arrest me for what my neighbor does. You can't arrest my neighbor for what I do. So they're persecuting and prosecuting him for what other people have done. Jurors were not given all the facts. They make sure of that. Yep. Uh, the only the only talking I did to Bayo was with Gunner, on his live feed, uh, off and on about 4, 5, or 6 different days, maybe more. I don't really remember. When I could catch them when they was live and talking, I would call in. Uh, he was in the courtroom the first day. Okay, all right, good. All right, so you probably can tell us some things we probably didn't know, and we'd appreciate that. This is just when the conversation had been discussed on the case. Okay, yeah. Well, I am using this as a forum for you all to talk to each other and to talk to me. Uh, see, uh, I'm going to get to my other things on the ID and judges. I'm going to try and keep this to three subject matters. I just about can't for the life of me talk about one thing and just keep it on one thing. Uh, so, and I don't like to just do one topic at a time because I can't get on here every single day and run. I have to do it when I can. Just like I intended to be on here an hour ago, but I had delays due to one of our service dogs being sick and having to take care of him. So I run behind. That's just kind of how my life goes. I have to roll with the punches. But anyway, uh, I I have it on reasonable. Think that if I would have been. No, I don't. I don't think so. What I'm trying to tell you this here. I think that if you know the law and you know it good, but I mean really good, uh, and I don't mean like I'm pretty sure. No, you got to be really sure you really know the law, and then you got to be like Santa Claus, so to speak. You got to check your papers, your documents twice to make sure you haven't made no errors. Then you have to, uh, hey, you got to make sure you haven't made errors. And then still you're going to have made errors because you didn't put a comma in some place to break it up. You didn't put a period, so something run together and it left some confusion or a claim on the other side. Now, see, here's what attorneys do. Uh, for example, say if I was an attorney and I drew up papers on a client and it's a high profile case or any case, but I'm just saying it just seems with attorneys the more high profile it is, uh, the deeper they go because if they win or lose, it's got a lot to do with their reputation, the fees they charge, yada yada yada. So once I finish my papers, then I take it in and I have a briefing session. There's usually a couple paralegals and one or two other attorneys, and they all got copies. So anything that they see wrong, they circle it in red, put a question mark, or put an X through it, and we talk about it to see if we can tighten this case up. And then one attorney will say, "Well, did you remember the so and so case? Or do you remember rule number so and so under the rules of evidence? Um, or are you going to challenge the jurisdiction? Or are you going to charge this identity? What, all these different things. Can you let me know, please? I had. Okay. I guess that was somebody asking somebody else a question. Anyway, you're trying, even if you know the law, even if you know the law, you're the only person that's got eyes on this. So you're having to check for your own mistakes. And sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. So being counseled versus having counsel is not necessarily the same thing. Meaning, you got Christian counselors, you got counselors of various faiths. Then you have, hey, Australia, you have uh, you have secular counselors. You have drug counselors. Well, an attorney is a legal counselor, not a lawful counselor, but a legal counsel, and they work within the statutes, yada yada yada, so forth and so on. Now, for example, when I do papers on things, I have done some of my papers on my own. I didn't ever talk to nobody, and I used them, and they were successful for what I needed them to be successful for. I was satisfied with the outcome in my issues. But sometimes, more times than not, I had two or three or four sets of eyes on my papers or documents. Other other good men or women that studied the law for years and years and years, or they was a retired judge or a retired cop or uh, yeah, whatever. Then whatever the situation was, I had other people to look at it to help me. And when they helped me, then of course, my case got better and better. And they said, "Well, did you think about this strategy? Did you think about this legal tactic? Did you whatever, you know?" And so it tightened it up, and it made it stronger like a dam to hold water back. It got stronger and stronger. So that's a good thing. Now, BAO is a political prisoner. Like I say, some people emailed me and said, "What constitutes a what?" I'm sorry, I can't read these too fast. I I they asked, "What's a political prisoner?" I said, "Well, look at it this way. This I'm not trying to give you a legal definition, although it probably fit. Um, if a man or woman violates somebody's constitutional right and they're arrested, okay, that's a constitutional arrest. If somebody violates a man made legislative law, uh, oh, that's that William Higgins there. Everybody take a look at that William Higgins. William Higgins, Higgins. He's a troll. He's a cyber stalker. He's stalking me, trying to prey after me. Uh, well, he's been reported to YouTube and to Google over 50 times by me. And he always seems to be able to come back and come back and come back and come back and come back. So I perceive him as a threat. I really perceive him as a threat. I'm trying to make him go away, but something ain't working here. Oh, I've tried to block him. I guarantee. I Yes, Bill Norwood, please stop William Higgins, Higgins, William Higgins. Uh, uh, I've been told that he is a certain specific cop. I don't know, but I'll probably know before too long if that's correct. And not only a cop, but a specific cop. Uh, uh, Stephen, let's see. I do. I care. Uh, I sometimes made correctional officers, peace officers, law enforcement officers, and there's differences. I made a lot of them mad with me because sometimes I told them, I said, "Look, your arrest is not justified. Uh, you know, I hey Rod, I did. I prayed for him. I even told him God bless him and some things like that, and he told me God was a fairy tale and all these other things, and he just made just he just been abusive and bully to me, and threatening and intimidating to me, and you know, I just have to keep on going on and just keep reporting him to Google and YouTube, and they don't do nothing to him. They let his account stay open. I think if you report somebody 50 times and they leave their account open, there's a reason. Anyway, a political prisoner. Say if somebody's arrested and it's a statute. A statute means the legislature has passed a law, per se, and it's gone to the governor. Uh, and then a company, just ABC Book Company, it's a law book company, they take the actual law that the legislature passes, they take it to legal editors, attorneys, paralegals, and these type of folks. They look at word for word what they said. So they try and get the gist of what they said, but they turn certain words around. They put commas in there, semicolons, and they reword it a little bit. Why? Because you cannot copyright the state law. You cannot copy the state law. So they have to go take it and turn it into a statute, you know, uh, and get it copy written. So when you're arrested based on a statute and not a state law, then there's a fallacy already. Okay, so and statutes also talk about the rules of evidence. Uh, I'm doing pretty good, but I have been better. I anguish a lot for BAO. Um, I've spent some sleepless nights praying for him and for those that are seeing him and talking to him. Um, uh, People say, why? I hate to get anybody seen done wrong. But back to my thing, I get distracted. I'm sorry. Just sorry. Uh, when you're not arrested for a constitutional violation and you're not arrested for a state law, and as bad as it gets when you're not arrested for some statute or code or policy enforcement, and all of that stuff is bad. I mean, anything outside the Constitution and state law is unlawful. Might be legal, but it's unlawful, and depends on what side of the fence you're on. And I'm going to be doing some classes on that before too long. I've done them in the past. I'll do them again. Anyway, when somebody that has political power, that can be a chief of police like Chief Slug, okay? When he goes into political mode, like I'm Chief Slug and I'm going to say you're committing a crime because I say so, not because there's any evidence, not because you've actually done it, but I'm going to abuse my power and my authority based on my political position as a chief of police, and I'm going to throw you in the cage. Okay, that's a political prisoner. When a judge says, you have questioned me, you have questioned my integrity, you have questioned my court, whatever, you've done something that has upset me, upset the apple cart, so forth and so on, then they use their political position. They step outside of the judiciary, just like police chief steps out of the peace officer or law enforcement status, whatever he's under, which would be statute. But anyway, he steps outside of that and goes into the political realm. And he makes you, or she makes you uh, pay uh, for a political crime. Meaning that what is politics? It's getting people to agree on common ground. Like somebody could say, okay, Chief Jones is running a political channel. They could say that. And they say he's trying to persuade people to do what he wants them to do. Okay, well, when I'm saying I want you to learn the law, when I'm trying to help you understand about my religious viewpoints and so forth, that's not political. But somebody could say it was. Yep, follow the money. Anyway, when a judge, especially a judge, it could be with anybody, but especially the judge that has the power to order the police to throw you in the cage, and they'll do what the judge says. Don't matter if it's right or wrong. They won't question the judge. I have sit and I have watched untold numbers of peace officers, law enforcement officers, from the sheriff to the marshal to the constable to their deputies to their officers, do whatever the judge said. Nobody said, I don't think that's legal, judge, or that's unlawful, or I can't do that. They're just robots and they do what the judge says. But when the judge steps outside of the judiciary as an administrative officer, that's something else. When the judge steps outside of there and uh, says, "You have butt hurt me, you have messed up my reputation, or you're challenging me," then I'm going to step out of the judiciary and step into, hey, uh, I'm going to step into the political realm and I'm going to politically lock you up and throw you in a cage. And I'm going to keep you there. And you're going to have to get on your hands and knees and kiss my boots and be a bootlicker. Uh, and you're going to have to do it in front of the whole world for letting me to let you go away. Because if you challenge me and I don't make you kiss and lick my boots and run your nose up my rear end, and I'm being pretty graphic, but this is pretty hard hitting, and I just want to just speak plain truth without being vulgar. Uh, they're saying if you don't do that, then other people will see what you're doing. Other people will hear what you're doing, and then they will start to challenge me. They will start to challenge the court. And if they do that, then it'll be a landslide, and we'll actually have to obey the rule of law. We'll actually have to treat you constitutionally. Uh, so forth and so on. I'm trying to read Bill's thing there, but I couldn't read it. I'm sorry. I just have to go back and read it later. I'm sorry. But they basically they're basically now using their political position, especially municipal judges. Okay, they don't have to have basically no training. They just some mayor says I hire you to be judge. You're 18 or older and you ain't got no felony conviction, so we're going to hire you to be judge. And so basically, you just sit on all these little so-called traffic ticket courts, and you just go in there and just find everybody guilty and rake in the money, and so we can get some new city equipment, we can hire some more police, and we can grow the government, and yada yada yada. And we can increase our paychecks, and we can hire our families and friends to work here for us because we'll have money hand over fist. So it's the system. It really is the system. But the system is numerous men and women that have their conscience is severed. Or they look in the mirror and they tell themselves, "I'm okay," or "I'm a good man," or whatever. But uh, they're not. They're lying to others and they're lying to themselves. Or they've made a distinction and they said, "I don't care what it is." Let me tell you something that I learned from people in the Asian continents. Okay, in Asia, maybe like Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, some places over there. A man or a woman, but it's mostly for men, but it's men and women both. You have face. Your word is your bond. You have face. If you're the poorest sucker in town, you ain't got two pennies to rub together. You ain't ate in 3 days. You got face. You got face. Okay? Your face is worth more money than the king has. Face is everything. Okay? That's your integrity. That's your trust. That's your everything. That's your everything. Is your face. Okay? Uh, Slugville. I think you say Savaggio, whatever. I just call him Slugville. It's like a little village there, and he's the chief slug. Slugville. Saint Chief Slugville. That's the way it seems to me. Okay, now, Uh, he has lost his face. He lost his face. So did the city manager. She's lost her face. These people, like these two crazy women judges, uh, what's their name? Cheryl Hardy, and then there's another one. I forget their name. Uh, let's see. Anyway, these judges, they've lost their face, which means we cannot trust them. They have no integrity. They've stepped outside of their judiciary. They're thin skinned, their ego hurt, ego damage, butt hurt, and they're trying to control the people instead of understanding that they're servants and they work for us. They work for us. We don't work for them, they work for us. We pay the salary. Look, uh, I'll tell you this here, okay? Think about this. I, me, I worked for y'all. All of y'all. I work for y'all. Wherever you's at. If you come to my city, come through my city, come through my state, you're the boss. I work for you. One way or another for 40 years, I worked for you. You was the boss. The only time, the only time you wasn't the boss, and you still was the boss, but you didn't have the powers of the boss, okay, was when I had articulable reasonable suspicion to detain you. You couldn't say, let me go. You could say it, but I didn't have to, okay? Makes sense. If I arrested you, then you was under arrest and you was under due process of law, okay? I had to treat you with respect, dignity, and honor, okay? But you was the boss. You paid my bills. You paid my salary. I mean, I worked, and Uh, I worked hard for y'all. I worked lots and lots and lots and lots of overtime, and a lot of it I never got paid for. Uh, Sometimes I had to do something else to make the majority of my money, and therefore I'd work part time as the police chief. I mean, not the police chief, as a police officer, or I would go into reserve status so that I could drive a truck over the road to pay my bills like a good man ought to. Okay? And I didn't get paid for none of that neither. Okay? I mean, I'd say the majority of my career was full time, full time, full time. Uh, or if it was part time, it was so close to full time you might as well have called it, even when I was driving over the road. Hey, Skyhawk. Um, so that's that. But anyway, I knew that. And I try and teach these young chiefs of police and young police officers and sheriffs and constables and marshals, we're your boss, okay? And you've got to be respectful. You've got to understand, okay? You can't treat us willy nilly in any kind of way. It just don't work. Hey, China Lynn, it don't uh, it don't work. You just cannot treat us any kind of way. The people are getting very angry. The people are getting uh, ticked off. There's a lot of people that are ready. They're ready. This is reporting. I'm reporting as the free press. They're ready to go to the next level. They're ready for things to happen. And it ain't good things for the public servants. I have never advocated violence, and I don't now. But stating the obvious, it's just that, stating the obvious. And I pray for our country. I pray for our leaders. I pray for the people that have to enforce the laws. But I also pray that they learn the laws that they enforce. I see police all the time trying to enforce a law that they don't even understand. And then they enforce it incorrectly. And then they want to hide behind qualified immunity. And they got these judges, they want to hide behind qualified immunity. Qualified immunity has a place and a time. But what these officers are doing many times, uh, qualified immunity does not cover them. And their city officials and county officials, it does not cover them. Okay? Uh, uh, I'm telling you, I have got some people pardons, full and unconditional pardons. I have helped people get out of jail legally. I didn't back up my patrol car and yank out the wall. I mean, I did everything legally, and I did it step by step. Uh, you know, uh, it is what it is. If I believed in a particular man or woman's innocence, I helped them. I don't have the time that I would like to have to continue to help the serious number of people that need help. Uh, I'm kind of, basically overloaded right now. So I hope that the people that wrote me emails see this and they know what a political prisoner is. And they know BAO has, under the Constitution for the Texas State Republic, not state of Texas, Texas State Republic, under its 1845 Constitution and every constitution thereafter that is not repugnant to the 1845 Constitution. You can recognize and see additional rights, but you can't never change a right to a privilege and you can't never do away with it. So the 1845 Constitution sticks. The original Constitution of the organic United States of America still exists and it still sticks, okay? But sometimes people fall short and they don't make a claim. When they used to have these prospectors and they go out digging for gold, they had to make a claim. When they had the land rush on the land that's given away, you had to make a claim. When you file on insurance, you file a claim. When you go and you file certain motions in courts or you file against police or government officials, you file a claim. A claim is a process. By the way, I'm not a bar card lawyer, bar card judge, and y'all know that, but I'm just going to repeat it here. But it's filing a claim. This is for educational purposes and for education, and it's my duty as a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I have to tell you what I know. Uh, anyway, uh, it's a claim, and it's part of the process. Process has to go A, B, C, D, E. So that's just like if a police officer stops you to give a ticket. Okay? Now, there are some various states and some various rules, and I'd have to look at yours uniquely to say. But for example, Texas, they have the Texas Transportation Code, and it says a vehicle it means in commerce. Okay? That's not your private automobile. That's not your private motorcycle or private truck. Okay? That is a vehicle that makes money or government. The government has vehicles, the military has vehicles, the police have vehicles, or motor vehicles, and they're commercial. But a regular man or woman drives an automobile, and an automobile is not required to be registered, no license tag. It's not required to have insurance. The man or woman driving is not required to have a license. Okay, only if you're in commerce. Well, if you're in your private automobile going to the drugstore or going to your job or whatever, you're a private man or woman traveling in your private automobile. And there's lots and lots and lots and lots of case law to say that's true. Okay? Uh, just like citizenship. Uh, You get to decide your ethnicity. You get to decide your race. You get to decide if you're a man or a woman. Okay? The government can't decide. That's why I'm going to talk about ID. When you go into court, they'll always ask you, like, say if I had to go to court for something, then there'd be a bailiff or a judicial officer of the court, normally a bailiff. They'll come out and they'll call my name. They call it once, they call it twice, they call it three times. And if I go up and say, that's me, well, now I'm on the hook. I have positively been identified under that specific name and spelt the way they spell it, which is always in all capital letters. That's not how you spell your name properly in English. So that name is spelled in legalese. So you can deny that name because it's in legalese. It's not in common law. It's not the way you was taught. And can you positively can you positively identify yourself? No. My mama and my daddy told me who I am. My mama and daddy told me when I was born, or my activity, where at and when and all that. Okay? So they gave me first-hand knowledge. But if I tell you it's hearsay, let me run that by you one more time. My mom and daddy told me when I was born, where I was born, and they gave me a name, okay, or something to be called by, okay. So they gave it to me firsthand, and I believe them to be honest and to be truthful, and good, and loving people, okay. So I believe their information is accurate, at least as best as they know it, okay. But if I tell a policeman this is my name, or this is when I was born, or I tell a court, that's hearsay. Hearsay is inadmissible. So they're trying to get you to say, I am this man in court. They're trying to get you to identify on the side of the road as this is your name. And you must comply because we're conducting an investigation. You must give us your name and address. You must give us your date of birth. If I don't know what it is or it's hearsay, how can I tell you that? So these are being run in lots of courts these days, and the courts get really ticked off because people are waking up and realizing that courts require first hand knowledge, and you don't have it. So unless the court can get my mama or my daddy down there and swear them in to say, tell us this man's name. Who is he? Is he your son? What's his name? When was he born? Where was he born? That's the only way. And of course, they're not going to take an oath of the court because uh, taking oaths are against the law of God. Uh, and so I always used to say I affirm. I would never swear, so I was always affirmed. Uh, but as I got older, I've learned that I aver. A-V-E-R, I veer. My yes is yes and my no is no. I veer to be honest as I know it. But you can't convict me for, quote, a lie because I said as best as I know. And you don't live in my brain and you're not a brain reader and you don't know what my intentions are. Only I know. Me and God alone know. So when I veer, it's a different thing. That's your opinion? No, no, that's a fact. It's a fact. Uh, I don't know who I am outside of what they told me. So if I tell any police officer, any judge, this is who I am, then that's hearsay. Second hand. Second hand. Uh, and a lot of people have used that in court. And so they usually make them wait to the end of court and they let everybody else be convicted or dismissed, whatever the case is. And so when you're the very last one in court, a lot of times they'll say, well, what are you here for? Well, you, in my hearing, I heard a name that I go by, But when I looked on the paper, that's not even the name I go by. That's a legalese name for somebody. That's not a common law name. Some people refer to it as a trade name, a commerce name. Uh, so now that's and then so I said I talk about bail, which I did. I talk about ID, which I have, and I talk about judges. And judges, when they do things that violate the judicial canons of ethics, when they violate their oath of office that they have to take to become a judiciary, then that's when they can be impeached and should be impeached and removed from office. Okay? Um, I'm doing various things behind the scenes that I don't tell everybody about because if I said it here, I might as well run it in the New York Post or the Dallas Morning News or the Miami Herald. So I tell certain things but not other things. I'm helping some people behind the scenes, uh, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen with uh, Bale's case, but I hope to have some contact in the next day or two, if possible, with Gunner and get on a private phone call with him and discuss some things with him. And by the way, North Idaho Exposed, North Idaho Exposed, did an interview with me the other day about, I believe it's his niece that was sexually accosted by the police. Now, there's a bit more to the story, but he was interviewing me and he's got it on his channel. And probably in the uh, next day or two, 3 days, something, I'm going to put that on my channel as well. It was a really good interview about what police can do and can't do, and the way they're trained sometimes versus the way they act, and what qualified immunity is and what it's not. And, you know, it is what it is. I love y'all. I love all y'all. I, yeah, thank you, Bill. Uh, he put the link up there. Uh, I talk to North Idaho Exposed on a pretty regular basis, and we discuss a lot of things. I talk to all the auditors on the phone and various methods, uh, checking on them and their families and their welfare. See where they're at, see where they're going. Call back and check on them again. I try and keep up with them. It's kind of like a daddy. I mean, some of these people, they're well grown folks, okay. But I got that shepherd thing in me where I want to kind of keep them crowd in and keep them safe and keep them close to me. So I call them. I send them comments on their videos, email them, text them, talk to them on the phone to keep their spirits lifted high, keep encouraging them to do what they do, which is right and just in the sight of God and man. I I do everything I can to help them and to remind them uh, of words maybe they should stay away from, and on the other hand, words they should actually use. And not always from a lawful or legal standpoint, but um, maybe because uh, the government will try and twist and use their words, which they might do anyway. But don't help them. Don't help them. In other words, it's akin to the Fifth Amendment. The government can't twist your arm around and make you confess or testify against yourself. And that means mentally twisting you, physically twisting you, spiritually twisting you. Uh, I've heard, I've heard. investigators before of them. I wasn't there, but I've heard of investigators, secondhand information now, not firsthand. They didn't tell me themselves that they was talking to certain suspects, and they would knew that they had a religious background, so they would put them under coercion. Well, you know God don't want you to lie. You know you need to tell us the truth, and we're the authority, and we're the peacekeepers, and you're required to tell us under the laws of God. So they twist them and turn them. So that's another way of trampling on their rights. See, another way of trampling on their rights. I got some more things I want to do, and I'm trying to work on. I'll have to have some more. I'll have to have some more funds. But as always, a donation is a donation. A donation has no strings attached to it. Okay, but the the person that's accepting or requesting donations should give you a general understanding of what they're doing, why they're doing it, and what they need, and what they'll use it for. So I would call that disclosure. So the people that donate are donating because of what your need is. Okay, so uh, I'm trying a gimmel. I am trying to get a gimmel, and that's one of them things that'll help you uh, keep your equipment steady when you video, and need to get a battery pack and some kind of front pack or backpack to be able to hold my stuff, so that as soon as I can start to go do some more audits, then I'll have my gear ready to go. And you know, uh, and then of course I'll have to have some gas and stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm trying to be ahead of, of things this time. In other words, I don't want to wait to the last minute and have to do one or two or three videos asking people to donate, because it it makes it kind of sound petty at times to some people. So I'm trying to get a few donations here and a few donations there, and so that nobody feels like, oh, I got to make this big, huge donation to get him across the finish line. I don't want nobody to feel like that, and I don't want nobody to feel like uh, my $5 or $10 wouldn't matter. That's not true. Most of the donations I got was $5 or $10, and I got across the line. Now there was a couple, two or three people that really come across in a big way. They know who they are. They don't want their name put out here, so I don't. Uh, in the recent, and I think like one told me this here. This one donor said, if my name got out there, I feel like other people might be sending me emails and hitting me up like I'm made out of money. And the donor said I got a fair amount of money, but I'm not rich, and I want to support who I want to, but I want to do it anonymously. Okay, everybody's got their reasons. So if you can help me and you can donate to my PayPal, I appreciate it. If you can't, I understand it. I've got to uh, I've got to get up with Brother Don's widow, because I have to get some recording equipment that he has to help uh, uh, so that I can be able to make some videos. I want to make teaching videos, and I need some stuff that I can make copies off of it to be able to send it to people, audio files and so forth. And and then I'm going to try and get all of his Bibles and study materials to prepare to make a uh, a memorial library in his place. Why do you think the jury turned on? See, I had several things going on the last few days, and so I don't know what all happened and when it happened, and I was kind of lost in the sauce a little bit. Uh, oh yeah, I am probably going to run for a judge's position um, in Texas before too long. Um, that's all I'm going to say. And a lot of people have asked me about Anna von Reitz, and they call her Judge Anna von Reitz. I guess you could call yourself the shoe salesman, the dog catcher, the judge, whatever. Uh, uh, she is not a bar card lawyer. She is not an elected judge. She is not an appointed judge. I have contacted the judicial system or the judiciary for Alaska. They say she is not now, nor has she ever been a judge. She's not been a municipal judge, a county judge, a state judge, elected or appointed ever, period, unequivocally. Uh, so even if she was going to be quote a common law lawyer in her borough or her district or her county or whatever it's called there, she would still have to be on some sort of ballot. And the electors, the local electors, would have to go down and cast a ballot to elect her to give her legitimacy. So if that's all you got to do is just say I'm a judge, then I could run around and call myself Judge Jones. Uh, you know, I know probably way more than that woman knows, and I studied a lot of what she said. And I'm not saying there's some things that she says is correct, but when she claims to be a judge and it's not, she loses her integrity and loses her credibility. Even though maybe a third, maybe 50% of what she says is true. Uh, that's funny. You know, you you put yourself out there, you get in a bad place. You know, really, seriously. Uh, I'm not a dog catcher. I don't claim to be a dog catcher. I only claim to be who I am, and I claim to be what I am, to the best of my knowledge. Uh, and she can claim to be who she is, but I've even uh, had contact with her through email and have specifically asked her, would you send me any document, any paper from anywhere, anytime in the whole world, from the day you were born to now, that says any group of people has elected you or appointed you to be a judge over them or a judge in their jurisdiction, and nothing has been provided. I said, you don't have to do much, just something, anything you can hang your hat on, and there's nothing. I know other people that went to conferences that she was paid pretty decent money to go. I mean, all of her bills were paid, and she made decent money going, whether that was income or whether that was donations. I don't know, and I can't speak to that. But I do know that when people rely upon her to be giving them legal or lawful instructions in the law, there's people that have gone to jail using her knowledge based on what she says. And what their papers say, Judge Anna Von Reitz, Alaska State Supreme Court judge, said, da 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 da. Uh, she needs to put a disclaimer out there. I call myself judge, and what kind of judge she's calling herself. because she claimed to be a superior court judge. Well, see, Supreme Court, Superior Court, they sound alike, but they maybe have different meanings. But in California and other places, they have superior courts. So when she says she's a superior court and they have a Supreme Court, then, you know, you have to be able to back up your claim, or you have to have other people around you that vet you and can verify your claim. Okay? Uh, I've showed my credentials to various auditors. They've looked at my credentials and they've seen them. They've looked at retirement papers. They've looked at, uh, where I've retired. They've looked at my badges, my IDs. They've looked at my global profile that tells my training and when I retired, where I retired, and stuff. And so they can speak to that, and uh, other people. Uh, uh, I'm trying to think. Just like I've had other people interview me, and we've gone through stuff, and they've said, "Send me, send me a packet of your documents so I can review them, so that I can call and verify." Okay, uh, Jimmy Hutmaster uh, with Bank versus UTV, he was one of them that went through everything and vetted me. Falling Bomb, Falling, Falling Bomb, he's vetted me. Uh, my One of my near lifelong best friends, who actually rode with me on patrol and actually did these things and can give firsthand knowledge, uh, Texas T Bone, which he's been trying to get his channel to going, but he's had some various health issues, and so he's running behind getting his channel going. But he should be up and running before too long. And y'all seen him out there with me, and if I was some fraud or some liar, you would think between all the auditors and all these different things that somebody would have said fraud and would have proved it, but it's not. And in fact, uh, when I went into Leon Valley PD, uh, I told them exactly who I was. They got video and probably audio of me saying exactly who I am, where I'm from, what I'm about. I've been on here so long, uh, probably 15 or 18 months, and some of my videos have been seen over 20,000 times. If I wasn't who I say I am, what I say I am, somebody in there uh, would say something about it, and they could quote bring some proof. Uh, uh, I I don't know. I got other cops that watch this channel. Some of them know me for lots of years. Uh, you know, and some of them they didn't really like me, but they didn't dislike me. And I was probably the few feelings mutual, but they have come over the years to say, at least, at least, you're fair, you're honest, you got integrity, and you put it out there. Uh, you know, so my sincerity and my honesty is my face. This is my face. These judges in Chief Slugville and crew, they've lost their face. They have no value in the community. They've lost their trust. They violated the public trust. Okay, and I'm trying to think of his name right now, and it can't come to me. What is the guy? There's another guy on YouTube, and he's a little more to the far right than me. I'm not saying anything he says is wrong. I'm not saying that. And I wish I could think of his name, and if I can, I'll put it on here where y'all can see later. But anyway, he's done a huge study on the Cestui Trust, the American Cestui Trust. And then there's another man that's done an extreme study for about 15 years on the American style of ecclesiastical sovereignty. And I got all those papers. Uh, and I've studied them and I've gone through them and I've learned a lot of things there. See, when you're a peace officer, you're a county judge, you're elected by the people, then the people are representing you to be an officer of the Cestui Trust. So when all your money, your labor that brings your money or value, and it goes into the treasury, the public treasury, then when money has to come out, it comes back out to beneficiaries. Like the Social Security is part of the Cestui Trust, the food stamp program is part of the Cestui Trust. Everything is part of that Cestui Trust. So there's a national Cestui Trust and there's a state Cestui Trust. So there's 50 for the states and there's one for the federal government. The one for the national slash federal government takes care of the American territories. Okay, so you're an officer of the trust. It's called the public trust, public funds, public money. Okay, so when you file a claim that you paid into this trust and now you need to become a beneficiary of the trust for some reason, then there's a process. It's due process. I mean, the process that you're due under the law, under the Constitution. Due process of law. Constitutional process. If people violate it, they're up a creek. They violated the Cestui Trust. That's where they get their salary. That's where they get their pension. That's where they get all their benefits out of the Cestui Trust. So they agree to be an officer for the Cestui Trust. Boom, yeah. And hey, Tomlin, and if they violate that trust, then they're supposed to be removed as an officer. And if you do research where somebody's telling me to follow the money, look at the International Monetary Fund. Look at the Federal Reserve System, the Federal Reserve Banking System. Then look at the Cestui Trust. And you begin to connect all the dots and you begin to see about the banksters. And then you begin to see about legislators. And you begin to see about the bar card lawyer associations, British Accreditation Registry. Some call it British Accreditation Regency. Some say Regency, some say Registry. And you learn about the City of London. Then you learn about the other City of London. And you learn how they exchange value through gold and silver and the things that governments do that you don't ever know about. The only reason I'm alive today is because of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and using these brains He gave me and putting people around me in high up political and lawful positions that know I'm an honest man, know I'm a righteous man to the best of my ability, and help people. And so they basically make sure that I'm okay and I'm alive. If those people were removed out of my life wouldn't be worth 2 cents because the things I tell you can be verified. The things I tell you are authentic and true. Now, it don't matter how many times a bar card lawyer judge tells you he's stupid, he don't know what he's talking about, or he's talking out of both ends. It's them that don't know. they suffer for lack of education, and then they cause you to suffer. I'm telling you the truth. This is all I know. It's God and His law and man and His law. I can't fix your car. I can't fix your life. I can help you, but I can't fix it. And I only do it one at a time because there's only one of me. But I love y'all. God bless you. Anything you can do to help me, I appreciate it. Uh, I'm like everybody else. I go through hard times. Sometimes I got enough money to pay my bills. Sometimes I could use an extra dollar or two. You know, God just kind of works it out. This month I might be over 100. Next month I might be under 100. It all washes out one way or another. And God's always sent some man or woman along to help when needed. Sometimes a lot of somebodies. Somebody. Everybody is somebody. Somebody is everybody. So I'm going to close with a quick prayer. Lord God Jesus, we go to you in prayer this day. We ask forgiveness of our sins, that there be nothing between us and nothing between us and you. We thank you and we praise you and we glorify you, and we ask that you bless us in every way, most especially in our relationship with you above all. I pray that you help these people, and I pray for BAO in BAO's situation, that you give him peace of mind. I pray that you would make the system break. You'd bring those walls down around him. Uh, that you would use him as a martyr to rally the people to truth and justice. I pray that you would help us be like-minded, one accord, to do what's right and just in your sight. And I pray that the people that are atheists, that may be watching now or later, the people that have other religions, that they will just understand that this is my religion, this is my belief, and they may pray how they desire. This is how I pray. And we thank you. We glorify you. In the name and blood of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen. Okay. Prayer is powerful. Prayer delivers. I love y'all. That's the left-handed salute to the people on the left wing. This is a right-handed, righteous salute to Jesus and his people. And the people of the various religions. I don't knock nobody's religion, but I do preach mine, and you're free to preach yours. And I'll see y'all later. Bye bye.